Because you can handle the truth.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Want to welcome you to Your Voice Counts. My voice may have sounded like it changed just a little bit, and actually it's not Phil's voice. It's the voice of Ron Kukal. I've been on the show several times with Phil, and tonight he's asked me to just kind of stand in for him, give him a little time off to be with his son, and to see his daughter in North Carolina. So here I am, ladies and gentlemen. I ask you to bear with me. I don't figure I'm much of a radio personality. I'm no Rush Limbaugh, that's for sure. But tonight, I would like to start this show out just a little bit differently than Phil does. This is something that's been laid on my heart. We, and myself and Phil, we literally come from nowhere. I don't know how else to put it. After the attack on the USS Liberty on June 8th, 1967, some of us guys found each other years later, and Phil happened to be living really close to me. He lived in Colorado, and I lived in Wyoming, and Phil thought that we should try to do something to bring the story of the Liberty to life, and he drove up. And many years ago, I couldn't even tell you the year, but we did a thing in front of the Lions Club for, it took us about an hour. We had no props. There was absolutely nothing there except we just stood up there and just told the story as we saw it. As the years went by, we both did a lot of interviews. I have no idea how many interviews I did myself. I have none. Just no idea how many. But as time went on, Phil ended up doing a show called The Liberty Hour, and invited me on several times. And as that went on, we I believe it kind of dropped out for a while, and then when it came back, it was renamed Your Voice Counts. That's a good name. I like it. Going from a little old town in Wyoming telling this story and going to where we are right now to a 2-hour radio show, it can only be an act of God as far as I'm concerned, because here we are, two guys that came home a complete mess after combat. And here we are doing a radio show. It's Phil's show. Well, actually, Phil wouldn't like me to say that. This show is actually for the whole crew, for the survivors, for the family, for those that are still asking questions today about the deliberate attack on the USS Liberty. Tonight, I'm so impressed. I really am so impressed with the women that have supported us over the years. And we do have a woman who's running for Congress from the state of Florida tonight. And she's going to come talk to us a little bit about how the process is going. So as soon as the music is over with, the second time we'll be talking to her. A couple other things. I'd like to call this ladies' night, if I could. I don't think there's probably any of the veterans, any of the survivors' lives that are.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Hey there, my name is Frank Bates. What I'm about to tell you in the next 60 seconds could get me in a lot of trouble. I just created a free video presentation at 123crooks.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are. Incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your power bills criminally high. Some have called this a conspiracy. Others have called it a cover-up. And you'll be shocked to find out how deep the conspiracy goes. My video at 123crooks.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Watch the controversial video that thousands of other smart patriots have already seen in the last 3 months. Go to 123crooks.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home. Go watch my video now at 123crooks.com before they force me to shut it down. 123crooks.com.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Well, finally, the open truth back to Washington sends out a message that the ship will farther out to sea.
Okay.
There were too many errors and too much time wasted. The bombs were coming down. It would be too late for liberty. Oh, please, can you tell me why so many of my brothers died?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on. I apologize because I didn't hear the music the first time. Hopefully that won't happen again. I'm not sure what you heard, but I did try to run over just a little bit of how Phil and I have really gotten to this point where we're actually a 2-hour show. It's Phil's show, not mine, and the show is for the survivors that and the families aboard the USS Liberty. Just a short note. I was the petty officer in charge of the body recovery and identification. Talked a lot to these families many times over the years, and the dismay on their faces even to this day is unbelievable. Tonight I'd kind of like to make this a kind of a ladies' night, being we have Eileen Fleming on, who's running for Congress, the state of Florida. And before I get her on, I want to thank our producer, Kat, RBN, for carrying on and keeping us alive with this show. It's highly important. I believe that this country know the truth. Some of us decided over 45 years ago that this country does need to know the truth. And a lot of guys have had to give up a lot to do that. So, one other short note. Yesterday I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he talked about it when his show first started in 1988. And he told a couple of things that I thought was very, very important for the people here to see and or to hear about. He talked particularly about the problems he had with racism and the names he was called and the things that he just had to put up with in the name of what he called racism. Now, I don't see his show as any differently than ours, and it's been a problem with us for a long time to be able to tell the truth and not be called a bunch of names. I might tell you that that some of us guys were some of the most trusted people that the United States Navy ever had. We were trusted ultimately right to the point where, well, our patriotism was never, ever in question. So anyway, tonight, Eileen, I hope you're on the line. I could go through your biography. Sometimes I think this may be better if you go through it a little bit. I see you were born in 1954 and lived in Greenwich Village in New York City. And I noticed that you've done a lot of donating of your time as a registered nurse. I assume you're a registered nurse. So why don't you pick this up for us? And it's your voice counts. This is not my show. Tonight it's yours. So, and the ladies that are listening, if you want to call in, if you've supported your husband, even if he wasn't aboard the Liberty, you know how hard it has to be. I sure love to hear your thoughts if you want to call in on it. However, Eileen has got a lot here to say, so Eileen, are you there?
Opportunity, and I think I heard that where I came in on, yes, I was born in Greenwich Village. I lived there for the first 3 years of my life. But I've been living in Florida, oh my gosh, since the 70s, and a big thing happened today. Well, I mean, the person, the man, Dr. Diab, the person really who he's the one who woke me up about the Palestinian side of the story. In 2003, I met him. He died, is where I'm going to, and today was the funeral, so I'm still kind of caught up in that. And but he was the instrument, really, to begin my education. He took me over to Bethlehem for my first time in June of 2005, and I went back on my own 6 times immediately thereafter, bam, 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 wanting to learn so much more, experience so much more, spend time in the refugee camps, and anyway, I did all that, and now I find myself as a candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, District 5, Florida, and I'm hoping there's some listeners out there who may be heading to the Republican National Convention, and in particular Ron Paul at the Sun Dome on the Sunday before. That's August 26th. So we've got a lot to talk about, Ron, but I'm going to punt it back to you because I'm not sure what your time frame is and where you really want to begin here.
Actually, Eileen, you can just have at it. When you hear the music, I'll probably interrupt you. But I wish you'd say just a few things before you get to the Republican convention and such as that, about what you plan on doing if elected, especially
for the Liberty.
For the Liberty, I wish
yes.
this is Liberty. It's the
yes,
Liberty Hour to speak.
Yes.
I wish you would do that.
Yes, I will do that. And if people go on, well, either of my sites, the first one, if you're at wearewideawake.org, which is my internet newspaper, and you will look under the banner of this little boy of Bethlehem, right underneath his little face there, you'll see USS Liberty. That's the USS Liberty link. I would like people, because that's where my interviews with some of the survivors, and also I'm hoping everybody has signed it. The letter that Joe Meters put together, that's to be delivered to the U.S. State House of Representatives, the Senate, and Barack Obama. And I won't read it. It's there, but there's the link then for people to sign it. And if people will go on the little icon, Eileen Fleming for U.S. House, or go to eileenfleming.org, and right there, my statement, which is support and vote for real change, Eileen Fleming for House, District 5, Florida. And if you scroll down, I am right there on, I will read what I wrote. Whereas the crew aboard the USS Liberty on 8 June 1967 were not supported by the U.S. government, and most Americans do not even know their story. If elected, I will sponsor a House resolution to establish every June 8th as USS Liberty Remembrance Day. Whereas the crew aboard the USS Liberty were not supported by the U.S. government, if I am elected to U.S. House of Representatives, my first act of Congress will be to write a House resolution to establish every June 8th as USS Liberty Remembrance Day, and I just caught my typo. And then I will issue an invitation to all the Liberty vets to speak on the congressional record about what they saw on that day in infamy when Israel targeted and attacked America's premier spy ship as it navigated in international waters and killed 34 members of crew and wounded 174. And then I will request a Naval Court of Inquiry with congressional oversight to thoroughly investigate and determine the truth in honor of the dead and injured and for the 45 years of pain the survivors and their loved ones have endured. And throughout my campaign, I will be asking every candidate for Congress that I meet if they, too, will remember the Liberty. And if you click that little link, it will take you to my Liberty series at wearewideawake.org. And why I got on board with the Liberty was in 2007. It's Phil Tourney. He was my first Liberty survivor that I met, that I heard of. And when he was speaking, he said it was God that kept us afloat. And when he said that, it was like, one of those light bulbs that go off over your head. Every, fiber of your being is just a high alert. This message is for you. And that's what did it, and I've had the opportunity of interviewing Ron and Doc Kiefer. Got to spend a couple of days with him, in fact, at his home in Texas a few years back, and maybe we can talk about that so we don't interrupt that, because that was something. I don't know. Have you had a dialogue about Doc Kiefer on the show?
Well, I think we have a couple of times, and of course, every last one of us respects him to the utmost, because he not only took care of us while he was injured himself. I don't remember how severe the injury was, but I do know, and Phil knows even better than I, because he was helping him in his surgery, and we have had somewhat of a dialogue.
Okay, great, because I definitely would, because that's like, I know you with your segments, I think we could do a whole segment there, so not to get into it before, but I think when we come back, maybe let's pick it up there with Doc Kiefer. So what else can I tell you, though, about so much is happening, Ron? I'm running this campaign as neither Republican or Democrat, but as an American. And we have these rights, and I say there also are obligations, and it's in our Declaration. Everybody says they're a constitutionalist, but nobody says, well, are they, uphold the Declaration of Independence? And I quote it all the time. Is that music?
I think that's the music,
That's the music.
Eileen.
Okay, well, let's pick it up with Doc Kiefer when you get back.
I'll hear the bomb again.
Hey, meat eaters, the freeze-dry guy wants to know, does your emergency food supply meet the standards for survival? Then get the 144-day meat variety unit from the freeze-dry guy. Our meat units utilize only quality Mountain House freeze-dried cooked ground chicken and ground beef, the undisputed choice for great taste and highest nutrition. The freeze-dry guy's 144-day meat variety unit includes 6 number 10 cans of the very best freeze-dried animal protein for power you'll need when the going gets tough. Every meat eater's 144-day meat variety unit comes with a free medical kit and always free shipping to the lower 48. Need more than 144 days? See our 1-year plus meat eaters units at freezedryguy.com. And hey, the freeze-dry guy still has LRP rations, but they're going fast. Don't wait until tomorrow. Call now, 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-3663. Or go to freezedryguy.com and meet the standards for survival.
Don't answer it! How can I stop these annoying collection calls?
Imagine being free from your debt without settling and with no payment plan, no negotiating or filing bankruptcy, and no attorneys. What if you could eliminate the risk from all your unsecured debt in about 90 days and keep all your money? You can. It's called Zero Debt Guarantee, and it works. There's no other program of its kind on the planet, and we guarantee the results in writing. Call now, 800-477-9256. Let our team of experts provide you with the resources to fight back, stop collection calls, and prevent and stop wage garnishments and bank levies. If you're facing foreclosure, we can help. Don't go it alone. Get free information now by calling 800-477-9256. Talk to an expert who has also completed our program. Call 800-477-9256 for free info, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com. That's 800-477-9256, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the Liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of the serenity. They attacked the silent ship, making a 40-foot hole in the...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again, and we left off talking about a doctor aboard the Liberty. I like to have Eileen talk about this just a little bit. What she noticed in Dr. Kiefer's home, his demeanor, even in his, when he was probably the sickest. I can relate one short story before I let you get on here. One quick story. I had a back injury because we were lifting bodies, waterlogged bodies out by just tying a rope on the end of each body on a body bag, and we had to haul them straight up about, 15 or 20 feet. And none of us was in any shape to do that, and I had a back injury, and I had it for years. And Dr. Kiefer actually wrote me a letter almost 20 years after the fact, which actually proved that my back injury did occur then. He didn't have to do that. It wasn't even that tough to find him, and he's done that for so many people. There's just no words to describe what a fine man he is. So go ahead, Eileen. Tell me what it was like to be there in his home.
Well, before I get to that, let me just tell you that he operated with himself having received 11 shrapnel wounds into his abdomen, a gunshot wound to his leg, burns, and a broken kneecap. And he remained on his feet and caring for the crew for 28 hours. And the way he kept himself going, just sheer will, adrenaline, determination, but he also was titrating morphine just to keep the edge off his pain so he could, focus. And, it's just phenomenal what this man did. But when I visited him, it was December of 2007, and he was born into a Catholic family and grew up in Brooklyn, and I am from New York, so we had something in common there. And he was now, when I visited him, living in Texas, and big piece of property, and he, the deer would come and feed, as well as all these obese raccoons. He would feed them dog food and cat food, whatever. So there would be all these raccoons in the backyard at night, and the deer early in the morning in the front yard. And he also, after the Liberty, he was in a plane crash. He nearly died in that, and his parachute landed him on top of these Georgia pecan trees, and he landed on his right hand and arm, and that, of course, was his operating hand and arm. So he just laid there, he said, on top of that pecan tree and could not move his arms, and he just was so matter-of-factly, he just said, I knew then that I would never be able to operate, and I had to begin to start thinking about what I could do in, my life to continue and be useful. He's laying there in agony. He just lost his hand and arm. He's trapped, and he's thinking about what he's going to study when he decided nuclear medicine. And the pilot landed about a mile from him, and he was impaled in the pine trees. So, Doc Kiefer, dodged a big bullet there, but, he had rehab, and he then had a career in nuclear medicine, and then he had a heart attack, and he suffered the loss of 2 wives, but not a sense of humor. He also is very spiritual, not religious, but spiritual. He had icons of St. Francis all over his home, and of course how he loved the animals, and he had all these cats he was also caring for, and just amazing man to have some time with. And I know you remember very well, another one of my favorite Liberty vets is Commander Dave Ed Lewis. And he wrote to me in an email that he says, I know Doc has suffered more and complained less than anyone I know. Job, is it Job or Job? In the Hebrew scriptures, Job didn't have much on Doc. And this is Dave, Commander Dave Ed Lewis writing this. He has always dedicated his life to others and has never asked anything in return from them. And we know that book is a critique about God's justice, in the light of, suffering of innocent people. How do you find meaning in that? And, definitely Doc Kiefer has found a lot of meaning, and he played the cards he was dealt, and he's just an amazing person. And being a nurse, but also being someone who had been investigating the Liberty here, you remembered Mr. Schmucker? Is that his name?
Richard Schmucker.
Thank you,
yes,
Liberty
Schmucker.
Central. Yes. So he had sent me, boxes of, all kinds of documentation, and among them was this very pristine copy of the decalogue, and it was just really so neat and tidy, and so I brought it with me on my trip to Dr. Kiefer, and I said,
I think this music again is coming on.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll pick it up at the decalogue when we get back. Okay.
Yeah, hold your thought there.
All right.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
How would you like to own land? A refuge to escape from big cities, possible food shortages, the collapse of the dollar, or just a vacation trip is now available to you. Lots of fishing and hunting are available just across the Rio Grande River. Own your personal Colorado Wilderness RV lot within 3 stones throw of the Rio Grande River for $1,395. Quarter-acre lots, county road access. All lots come with warranty deed. All just for $1,395. Call 785-672-3141. 785-672-3141. Or go online to ColoradoRiverLots.com for more information and to see photos. It is away from civilization, a good business investment, and a low-cost protection plan. Call today, 785-672-3141.
If you would like to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself from anything out of balance concerning cardiovascular or diabetic circulation problems, then this might be the most important ad you'll ever hear. It is possible to acquire a 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation, which works. It is extremely effective and starts to work within days. For a long and healthy life, order today by calling 866-295-5305. 866-295-5305. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Order online at heartandbody.com. That's heartandbody.com.
In 2010, millions of people were awakened to the question of what? Now the next question that remains to be answered is, why in the world are they spraying? An investigative look into one of the many agendas associated with chemtrail geoengineering programs, weather control. Why in the world are they spraying? Premiering and streaming live August 18th at the 3-day event, Consciousness Beyond Chemtrails Conference and Fundraiser in Los Angeles. For more info, go to www.cbclive2012.com. Why in the world are they spraying? Order your copy today at www.whyintheworldaretheyspraying.com. Watch the premiere live August 18th at the 3-day event, Consciousness Beyond Chemtrails Conference and Fundraiser in Los Angeles. For more info, go to www.cbclive2012.com. Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
The time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time ago.
Okay, we're now listening to the fine music of Kat, and I love to hear this music on and off, and I got to meet her in Minnesota this year, and what a fine woman she is. She's kept us going and helped us keep organized. Thank you, Kat. I really want to thank you so very much. So, Eileen, will you continue on, please, with Dr. Kiefer?
Okay, so my question was, how could the deck log, which documents the hours during the attack, would be so very neatly written and lists all the dead and wounded in alphabetical order, and but yet make no mention of the many Israeli overflights that occurred during the morning before the attack? And Dr. Kiefer said the deck log was not written during the attack. Captain McGonigal signed off on the log, and that makes it legal but not authentic. McGonigal was concerned that he would be blamed for the Liberty being in troubled waters, and I told him, I quote, over my dead fucking body. And this is Doc talking here, and well, this is me here. I'm reading you the article. After the hellacious and unprovoked attack by Israel, they did indeed blame the victims. and quote, this is Doc Kiefer, Israel did identify the ship 6 hours before the attack. Israel did show that the ship was American and admitted to our government that they knew the ship was American. Israel claims only that the attacking forces failed to get the word. Modern diplomacy simply does not permit one to embarrass a friendly nation, even when that nation is caught red-handed with its torpedo in one's ship. McGonigal was tormented by the idea that he was somehow responsible for the agony his ship and crew suffered. On one top-level theory holds that someone in the Israeli armed forces ordered the Liberty sunk because he suspected that it had taken down messages showing that Israel started the fighting, and this is during the Six-Day War, typical of Israel's casual attitude toward the episode, an attitude which suggested from the beginning that it was really our fault for being there in international waters in the first place. Messages from Israel directly charged that a share of the blame was McGonigal's. The Shreveport Times suggested that our government was involved in a cover-up and that the attack itself may have been conducted to prevent the ship and the United States from detecting the pending invasion of Syria. That's which was scheduled for June 8th but implemented on June 9th.
Interesting you might bring that up. I didn't know it was going to come up tonight, but I will bring one other thing up that I happened to mention to Jim Ennis, who wrote Assault on the Liberty many years ago. I said, is it not very peculiar that the deck log shows the injuries of each and every man, what they had, what type of injury it was, on the same day that the attack occurred when nobody knew what happened to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying there, we know that the deck log, what was done with it, and that's the only thing I noticed, as I looked it over. And,
yes, and I have to edit myself. I said I was quoting Dr. Kiefer there, but I was not in that. I scrolled down to that footnote, and that was a quote from the Assault on the Liberty from Jim Ennis, and I've got the pages that I quoted in that paragraph that I had just finished. But this is what Dr. Kiefer responded to me when I read him from that book. And Doc Kiefer said, McGonigal may have misremembered or may have not reported the over a dozen Israeli overflights that morning because he may have thought he should have abandoned our mission, which was to listen in on all communications. My opinion as a civilian is that the Court of Inquiry, which was to determine if the Navy was at fault, would have inquired why he didn't get the Liberty out of the area since we could see the smoke from Al Arish in Gaza. And Doc goes on to say, I was the only medical corps officer to be appointed officer of the deck. That means I was in charge of everything on the ship when the captain was off duty. I stood mid-watch from midnight to 4 a.m. the night before the attack, and all was quiet. I always slept until 7:29 because breakfast ended at 7:30, beginning at sunrise at 8 a.m. The bridge reported a couple of propeller-driven aircraft overhead, and by noon several more. At lunch, people were talking about all the Israeli overflights, but nobody was worried. They were our friends. Afterwards, as usual, I went to the wardroom for coffee while the corpsmen began the start of sick call and off-duty officers pursued the national sport of sunbathing on the quarterdeck. And then he goes on to talk about Lieutenant George Golden, and I'm sure you probably have memories of him, too. I would like to hear those, Ron. And Doc goes on to say that he and George were together when the attack began, and we thought a steam line had ruptured when we heard the first explosion. We both headed off to our general quarter stations as the announcement sounded that we were under attack. I assumed it was perpetuated by the Arabs or Russians. Understand that nobody could identify Mirage fighter bombers that travel at Mach 1. Imagine as I say these words to you that the jets are a mile away. Now they are overhead and now they are a mile away from us. That is how fast they travel. 15 minutes into the attack, while I was operating on a sailor and trying to control his bleeding, I was hit with 11 pieces of shrapnel into my abdomen. A rocket struck above the ceiling of sickbay, and the light over my head and the operating table protected me. Both acted as a lifesaver. Otherwise, I would have gotten hit in my shoulders, side, and back. I was knocked against the wall, and waves of red and white pain throbbed through me. I knew I had to finish with the guy on the table. If I walked away, I wouldn't have returned. All I could think about was keeping limbs attached to sailors. From the moment the attack began, I felt a greater presence within me that was physically holding me up. I thought it was the spirit of all the Navy docs who had gone before me. I felt physically held up by my invisible assistants, and with all that adrenaline coursing through me and some carefully titrated morphine that I self-injected, I was able to do what I did. It was not until after I finished that operation did I even examine myself. The fragments that had penetrated me were so hot they cauterized my wounds. The pain was intense, but after applying surgical dressings to my wounds and putting on a life vest to control the bleeding, I gave myself a shot of morphine and remained on my feet and working for the next 28 hours. Just before the torpedo struck, I was summoned to the bridge and went through the mess decks from sickbay, where a number of wounded sailors were. Captain McGonigal was the only man still functioning there. The lookouts were dead. The helmsman, the guy at the steering wheel, was dead, and I saw the blown-apart remains of our navigator, Mr. Toss, 2 decks below me. All I could do was administer morphine to the still living and get them onto stretchers to evacuate them. I had 2 corpsmen working with me and knew I needed more surrogates, for the wounded were shoulder to shoulder the full circumference of the passageway. While I was on the deck, I got hit by a .50 caliber machine gun bullet to my leg that came from the torpedo boats. I was bleeding into my shoes, and not until the next day was I able to lie down did the bleeding slow down. You know the story of the Incredible Hulk and the mothers who lift cars off of their kids? When you are angry and hurt, you can do amazing things. If you got 100 people into my skin that day, probably all of them would have thrown up from the hell that erupted on the Liberty. Men were groaning and crying for their mothers, but it was just background noise for me. I was slip-sliding as I crossed the bloody deck to get to the captain who had been hit. McGonigal was leaning back in the captain's chair, bleeding from many orifices, some natural and some new ones. I applied battle dressings, started an IV, gave him some morphine, and sent an enlisted man to find as many officers as possible to come up to the bridge and assist him and to watch him shock. The captain said, if I sit up, I pass out, but as long as I stay in this position, I'm okay. People have eaten lunch with dismembered people all around me, burned dead. To this day, every time I have a phone conversation with Phil Tourney, who held the light while I was operating on Blanchard, he tells me he can still see the look in my eyes. This is Doc Kiefer saying that. Everyone in the Navy hierarchy knew we were scapegoats, and the Navy would have done anything to extract retribution. But the Navy never got the chance. In LBJ's mind, we were just an average day losses in Vietnam. I don't doubt Israel would have attacked without the knowledge or complicity of our State Department's willingness to sacrifice a few hundred sailors to have stabilized the Middle East and all that oil. Our State Department's morality and ethics are just slightly below those of a madame in a house of ill repute or a large-scale drug dealer. June 8, 1967, it was like July 4th in hell without the ice cream. And yes, I agree that it was God that kept us afloat. That was Dr.
Can I interject something here, Eileen?
Yeah.
Yeah, although I didn't know we were going to go in this direction, it's a great direction. I love it. Speaking of spiritual, a scripture passed my mind when you spoke about this, and it literally, I can't speak it word for word, but it literally says that if you won't listen to me, I will punish you with the elements. I really believe, and I honestly believe, that the things that are happening in this country right now are because God has said, I'm tired of what you're doing, and I will punish you with the elements. We've noticed that here in Wyoming, in many places. We had a benefit for people that lost their lives in Ashland, Montana. They lost their cattle, their homes, and we're not listening. We're not listening to God. And yes, I know I'm probably getting on my pedestal here, and I don't mean to do that as a former chaplain for the Liberty Veterans Association. But we need to make a corner. We need to turn a corner. And tonight, when you talked about Dr. Kiefer, there's just no words to tell you how much I respect that man.
Yeah.
And the other guys that I've served with, there's so many more. You took me back to some places that sometimes, and don't feel badly about this, please, some places that I don't usually let my mind wander to, because literally picking up men in pieces that have been in the water for 3 days, which was my job, was to put an arm to a body and a leg to a body. I'm going to talk about this just a hair tonight, not much, just to let you know that what Dr. Kiefer said is so right on the money. So absolutely, what we saw was almost to the point where you can't even pull a word out of the dictionary to talk about it. It's that tough. It was that pieces everywhere. The only way that I could identify people was to look for their names on their shirts, look for their names on the back of their trousers, try to throw them together that way. Yeah. At the end of it all, there was, I believe, 6 guys we couldn't find. We threw it all in one body bag, and we called it them. They're buried in Arlington. So you've taken me back a little bit, and I'm almost at the point of saying, could we get off of the subject, and maybe you could discuss a little bit about you're running for Congress and how it's going for you?
Yeah, you bet. We can definitely switch gears. Yes, the Liberty, of course, is big on my agenda, but a lot of other things are big on my agenda, too. I have to go back one last time here, though, to 1967, because it was the attack on the Liberty. If it had been dealt with as it should have been, honestly, by our government, and everybody been able to speak on the record, and the media done their job, I don't think we would have faced a 9/11 or in Iraq or Afghanistan. I think it's all so connected. 9/11 was my wake-up call. I wasn't even political until 9/11 happened, and then because of my faith in the nonviolent Jesus, who promised it's the peacemakers who are the children of God, that whatever we do or do not do, unto the least we do it or not unto God. And I was looking for something positive and good to do after 9/11, and that's when I got involved with Dr. Diab, whose funeral was today, and he was the refugee, the Palestinian Muslim refugee from the Upper Galilee, 1948 refugee, made his way to the USA and put himself through school, ends up with top secret clearance in the defense industry during the Cold War, and after 9/11 he brings together Christians, Jews, Muslims to literally extend the olive branch, because all 3 branches of the father Abraham there, Jews, Christians, Muslims, we share some of the same stories, one of them being the story of Noah, and the olive branch, when it was safe to come out because the dove had left the olive branch, and that's what we literally wanted to do by planting olive trees and other fruit-bearing trees that the Israel's wall has destroyed. Over 1 million fruit-bearing trees have been destroyed for Israel's wall, and it is illegal according to the International Court of Justice wherever it does not follow the Green Line, which is in most places because it is on Palestinian legally owned property, and the Palestinians are farmers. That's how they feed their families. So when their trees go, it's food out of their children's mouths, and nothing is wasted on the olive tree. They make all kinds of wood crafts and olive oil, all soap, everything that really sustains a family. Just 25 trees can sustain an average Palestinian family the way that they live. So we were raising funds and awareness through the Olive Trees Foundation for Peace, and that's was my first trip over there with Dr. Diab in 2005. I was the Christian amongst the Jewish and the Muslim co-founders, and when I went over, I hadn't taken it aside. I was just in writing my book, my first book based on Dr. Diab's memories, and researching. But when I went over to my first trip to the little town of Bethlehem and saw that wall from a Palestinian point of view, and shortly thereafter learned that we Americans provide, our tax dollars provide over $2.75 million per mile to erect that wall, which is illegal, immoral, and it's an abomination. And it's against the Palestinians. It divides Palestinians from their holy sites, from their land, from their jobs, from their aquifers.
I believe the music is coming on again, Eileen.
Okay.
Chlorine, fluoride, pathogens, and more are in the water you drink day to day. Do you want the ability to remove and reduce those harmful things in the water you drink? You can. How? With a Berkey water filter. A complete standalone gravity filter system that requires no electricity and no plumbing. Used for emergencies or for every day. Berkey systems come in 7 different sizes. Where can you get one? From GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com. With the purchase of each system, you get 50% off accessories, such as fluoride filters, water level spigot, and sport bottles. Plus free shipping on all orders over $25. For a limited time, get 5% off all ceramic systems when you use coupon code RBN. Call Get Berkey at 855-GET-BERKEY. That's 855-438-2375. Or visit GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com.
As many of you know, natural supplements are fantastic for your body and have 0 side effects. You need to restore your body's natural balance. TerraVim strives to carry only the highest quality dietary supplements and natural vitamins that can be beneficial in helping your body recover from the impact of daily stress, allergens, illness, environmental pollution, and the aging process. Why buy from TerraVim? Simple. TerraVim provides a rewards program. Earn $1 for every $10 spent, free health consultations, free shipping on all orders, and an additional 10% discount on every order when you mention the coupon code RBN. Call 866-647-4372. That's 866-647-4372, or go to terravim.com. That's TerraVim.com. TerraVim, the best supplements on earth.
In times like these, you can't depend on the government to keep you warm and fed, but you can depend on the Vermont Bun Baker to do just that. With the Vermont Bun Baker, you'll never be in a situation where you can't cook, bake, fry, boil water, or heat your home, all at the same time. One of the most revolutionary cook stoves, wood stoves ever, the Vermont Bun Baker is available with or without soapstone veneer, a natural stone that retains heat and radiates it back into the room once the fire is out. A beautiful addition to your home. The Vermont Bun Baker has an efficiency rating well above 75% and qualifies for the wood stove tax credit. For more information, watch the Vermont Bun Baker on YouTube and live stream, or visit us at www.vermontwoodstove.com. You can also reach us by calling 1-866-SOAPSTONE. Don't ever be hungry or cold because the power's gone out. With a Vermont Bun Baker, all you have to worry about is what's for dinner.
Well, finally, the officials back to Washington sent out a message that the ship will farther out to sea. There were too many errors and too much time wasted. The bombs were coming down.
So, Eileen, I wonder if you could just continue on with what you were talking about, your experiences in Israel. Tell us some more about that. And then I'd like you to go talk a little bit about the process you're going through now, the congressional election and stuff like that,
Sure.
and the Republican National Committee, what part you're going to play there, where you're going to speak. I'd like to hear just a little bit about that, too.
Sure. Well, let me just wrap this part up. If people go on wearewideawake.org, as I said, Dr. Diaz, he died this week, so the last 3 entries are all excerpts from my first book, Keep Hope Alive. So if you just pop on today, August 10, it's Keeping Hope Alive, and if you just go down 3 paragraphs, you'll see 16 Days in Palestine, a link, and that will take you to my very first trip when I got to Israel, Palestine. That will take you to my first trip. Now, there I am in my first trip there in June of 2005, and 3 weeks later I'm in Berkeley at Tikkun, which is Hebrew word for Hebrew. It means men, transform, heal the world. It's also an organization and a magazine, and they were having a conference for political, spiritual progressives. So I went from, I was home for like 3 weeks, and then I'm in Berkeley, and another eye-opening experience. So that's what that chapter is about. And while there, I met David Rovics, who is an activist musician. And if you log on to the wearewideawake.org and you go to August 10, Keeping Hope Alive, scroll down, and you will see the YouTube of one of the really the first song that I heard David do, which is They're Building a Wall, at that conference. And so there's that. I hope people will spend some time there. And David Rovics is now on his way to Florida. He's, in fact, in the studio now making his latest CD, and then he'll start his Florida tour in Gainesville. And in Gainesville now is a part of my district. What happened in Florida, they added 2 new districts. And the district I moved to in 1998, where I haven't moved, was known as Congressional District 5. With the 2 new districts, now where I live has become District 10. Well, I haven't moved, but they moved the boundaries. And one big issue in my run for U.S. House of Representatives is I'm trying to raise awareness that we don't need Democrats or Republicans. We need Americans to take back that House, and we can do it. We can run ourselves, because all the Founding Fathers required to serve, and I underscore the word serve, in the U.S. House of Representatives is to be at least 25 years old and a citizen for at least 7 years by the time of your inauguration, and live in the state your district resides. So that's one of my issues. I'm trying to really get that message out to our young people, these 20-something-year-olds. They could do it. They're just as qualified, especially these young people who work for all these politicians. And there's
music coming back, Eileen.
All right, we'll pick it up later.
Yeah, we'll pick it up on the other side here.
You can handle the truth.
Now Liberty was a long ship, someone called her the spook ship. A man sworn to keep the sea. She sailed in international waters, off the coast.
Okay, yeah, what they did is they added 2 new districts in Florida, and the way they gerrymandered it, this district that when I moved to Lake County in 1998, it was Congressional District 5. This year now it's been changed. I haven't moved, but now District 5 is no longer where it was when I moved to Claremont. It is now where I live has become District 10, but I'm sticking with running in District 5, as I said, because I'm about, raising awareness about a lot of issues, and number one is that we the people, we have rights that we have not yet seized. And I keep going back to the Declaration of Independence. I mean, I hold those truths to be self-evident. All people are equal. We're all endowed by there is one God, one Creator, with certain unalienable rights, meaning God-given rights. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among people deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So we have been given this in the first paragraph of our Declaration of Independence. It's our right. This government, I don't think this government is constructive of our rights. I think our rights are being taken away from us all over the place. And go back 45 years ago to the Liberty. I mean, what about the rights there of those men that were told to shut up, or, you'll be court-martialed or worse, whatever. I keep going back to that because to me that's where our foreign policy really took the turn it took, and Christian Zionism had infiltrated the White House. LBJ was a Christian Zionist, and that's another whole topic I think we really should get into, because there's nothing about Christ that would, Christ would not be a Zionist, first of all, and Jesus was never a Christian. That term was not even coined until 3 decades after he lived. People who followed Jesus in those early years were called members of the way he taught, the Sermon on the Mount. And, those are our marching orders. If we say we're a Christian, we're supposed to be doing that Sermon on the Mount. That's our manifesto. And I like to always quote Dorothy Day, and that's a whole other topic there. Do you know who Dorothy Day is, Ron?
I don't, no.
Okay, well, I saved my website, wearewideawake.org. It's my internet newspaper. It's free. I don't have any ads. Dorothy Day, in the 20th century, established the Catholic Worker newspaper, a voice for the voiceless. It's still a penny a paper to this day. But she was a Christian anarchist and very outspoken against war and nuclear weapons, and been a real role model of mine. And, I could say she's the patron saint of my website, and that I'm on a mission from God, that everything I do, it comes from my personal relationship with Jesus, and I just feel like this run for U.S. House of Representatives, if I get nowhere other than bringing the Liberty story to the media, which is my plan of attack, so to speak. Oh, and there's the music again. Well, we'll get to that when we get back from break.
We'll come back on the other side, guys. Yes, I got a couple other questions for you, too.
Herbal Healer Academy's new summer specials. Our 500 parts per million colloidal silver, all sizes on sale. Organic liquid iodine, liquid cal, mag, vitamin D, CoQ10 with Hawthorne, colon enhancer, Super 2, natural laxative, our exceptional product Connexin, memory power, and Super Male and Femplex. All on sale for the summer at herbalhealer.com. Also, 10% off on the HHA Survival Course. This is an important time to have this information. Might save your life. Nation's leader in supplying quality natural medicine and education. herbalhealer.com. Free online newsletter. Quality natural medicine supplier since 1988. We ship the same day you place your order. free 128-page catalog with your first order. Go to herbalhealer.com today. herbalhealer.com.
Aerial spraying, chemtrails, the modified atmosphere, heavy metals and pesticides, carcinogens and chemical fibers all falling from the sky. You have a choice to keep your body clean. Detoxify with microplant powder from hempusa.org or call 908-691-2608. It's odorless and tasteless and used in any liquid or food. Protect your family now with microplant powder. Cleaning out heavy metals, parasites, and toxins. Order it now for daily intake and stock it now for long-term storage. Visit hempusa.org or call 908-691-2608 today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the Liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of her serenity. They attacked the silent ship.
So, Eileen, if you'll just go ahead with what you were talking about there. We do have a caller, but we'll wait until you finish what you've got to say here, and then we'll bring the caller up.
I think where I was heading is what's happening in the Republican National Conventions happening in Tampa the end of the month, and I will be making my presence known. Starting off there at the Ron Paul, speaking at the Sundome on that Sunday, and I will be there as media, and I will be having my USS Liberty cap on, so I'm hoping to get a couple of questions to Ron Paul, and we'll see. So let's hear from whoever called in.
Okay, so let's bring James up from L.A.
Oh. I scared him off.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that was quick. Well, I did have a couple of things I'd like to talk about, Eileen. But really, do you have anything more to say about the convention? I mean, I don't want to cut into your time here. I want to hear what you've got to say about it. I guess you kind of pulled it up there on it.
I'm sorry, Ron. What I'm missing. What were you asking here?
Oh, the Republican National Convention. Being James dropped out. Was there any more you had to say about that? I mean, we know it's upcoming.
Yes, well, what I'm doing is, let me get back to David Rovix, because he's got some concerts going, and they begin on Friday, August 24th in Gainesville, and Gainesville is a part of my district that I am now running for U.S. House of Representatives. So I'm also going up to meet my constituents, as well as trying to get a staff together and get them to come down for the events happening in Tampa. And David will be back there on Saturday in Tampa. There's the Food Not Bombs World Gathering. And then Sunday, he heads off to St. Pete, but I will be at the Sundome because that's when Ron Paul will be speaking. And the rest of the week, Monday, Monday and Tuesday. We'll be back on the streets doing whatever we can do to engage with the public and the media during the convention. And I am bringing media packets with me. You know me, so you know that I'm writing my fourth book, which has got a lot of Liberty information in it. My articles and I also want to thank again Ernie Gallo for sending me the paper copies of, it must have been a dozen or more of the Liberty vets, survivors who wrote him about their experience. So I definitely want to get that documented. So that'll be in my book. And my third book, if you know, my third book title is Beyond Nuclear, Mordecai Vanunu's Freedom of Speech Trial and My Life as a Muckracker, 2005-2012. So I'm in process of writing my fourth book, which is Vanunu Waits for Liberty, and there's a lot about the USS Liberty, but it's my life as a candidate of conscience for U.S. House 2012. And if the best I can do is just raise some conscience and awareness, get the younger generation to be more involved, and that's why I'm looking really forward to Gainesville and meeting them there, and heading down to Tampa. And as I said, I will have media packets to bring to the media. My poster, my campaign poster, is my photo of me and Helen Thomas. I know your audience must remember Miss Helen Thomas, White House correspondent for, I don't know, just decades. And her first and last question to President Obama was regarding nuclear weapons in the Middle East. And Obama responded where he did not want to speculate. And, of course, there's no need, because we know from Mordecai Vanunu that Israel had manufactured upward of 200 nuclear warheads in 1986. And that's a whole other story. Vanunu's still waiting for his liberty, his right to leave Israel and fade into the world. And Israel just keeps delaying that justice. And, of course, we know why, is because it just shines a light on America's collusion in Israel's policy of nuclear ambiguity, which is just a PC way of saying deceptions. That's what it is. It's a deception. And this is what I say is endangering this homeland, is our foreign policy. And everybody in the world knows Israel's a nuclear power, but nobody in America talks about that. It's all Iran, and, Ron, I mean, doesn't it drive you nuts?
Yeah, I've heard enough of it. I really have. I want to, it's almost the point of, how it's disgusting. They're just beating a dead horse as far as I'm concerned. I got a couple of questions I'd like to throw at you. I hope I haven't, I don't want to interrupt anything you wanted to say about Vanunu, the Republican convention, but I do have a couple of quotes that I'd like to just kind of throw at you and get your thoughts on them.
Okay.
The first man who I think would look at you and say, what a woman, would be former Secretary Dean Rusk. He wrote a book, As I Saw It. On page 388 of that book, he says, and I quote, "But I was never satisfied with the Israeli explanation. Their sustained attack to disable and sink Liberty precluded an assault by accident or by some trigger-happy local commander. Through diplomatic channels, we refused to accept their explanations. I didn't believe them then, and I don't believe them now to this day. The attack was outrageous." Comments.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's outrageous is that we still don't have the American people even aware of it, and that to me is so paramount. Is we've got to go back and know our history. That's why I want to see USS Liberty Remembrance Day, because, well, what are we remembering? Well, let's learn the history so we will remember to remember, and this is what we have to look at. We have been it's as bad as it did not support the troops in 1967. It makes a mockery in a way of saying we're supporting the troops now, because how can you support the troops unless you listen to the troops? The troops who were on the Liberty were never listened to. They were never allowed to speak openly and get it out there on the congressional record and have Americans understand what really happened there. It's just paramount for our foreign policy that we get to that issue. And I say LBJ didn't just fail the troops because he didn't want to embarrass an ally. He had to have known Israel had weapons of mass destruction, was a nuclear power. He had to have known. What Vanunu told me is that JFK tried to get Ben-Gurion to open up the Dimona and, admit, the truth. And Ben-Gurion said, oh, no, the reactor is only for peace. And then when LBJ became president, and this is everything Vanunu told me, when LBJ was president, he would send 2 senators every year to investigate, but before the senators would get there, the Israelis would board up the stairwells and the elevators, so they never knew that there were 7 stories underground. They only saw the top floor. But surely, he was not a stupid man, and, our State Department has reams of documentation. So I'm pretty sure he had to have known it was just a charade. And then when Nixon became president, Vanunu said he decided, I'll quit sending these senators and just ignore the situation. And as a result, Israel upped production. And when Vanunu was there last, and I think it was late 1985, when he was there last, Israel had started working on thermonuclear capabilities, and they had already manufactured upward of 200 nuclear warheads, and who knows what they've got now? Nobody, because nobody's allowed in there.
Are you aware, did you happen to listen to the show that when we had former Senator Adlai Stevenson on?
No, I didn't hear that show.
Okay, well, he point blank said that since he was the man that was he was the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, it was up to him to see to try to get congressional investigation going on the attack. He literally said right on our show that there was nobody interested. It never happened, and. Yeah, and of course that show is still in the archives, and the senator is getting up there in years, so I'm not going to bother him anymore. But he said that on our show, and if you ever had the time, you might go into the archives and listen to that show. I think you'd be quite impressed by the man that when he came on and talked to us. On 20 June 1989, a man you'll probably remember, Admiral Thomas H. Moore. Mm-hmm. Head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, wrote me this letter. Dear Ronald, thank you very much for the news clipping covering the ceremony at the dedication of the Liberty Memorial Library in Grafton, Wisconsin. As you say, we may be making some progress, but at the very least, we must not permit the country to forget our shipmates who were so wantonly killed aboard the USS Liberty. And there's that music again. We'll come back on the other side.
Okay.
I'll hear the bomb again. I'll hear the bomb again.
Meet Jerry D.
Hi.
Jerry and his family, like you, are very concerned about world conditions and have gathered many emergency preparedness items, including turtle tough shelters.
We have added 2 24-foot turtle tufts to our supplies and feel very secure knowing our large family is ready for whatever the future may bring.
Turtle tough shelters are not tents. They are permanent yet portable 4-season geodesic frame shelters that are as strong as a cabin at a fraction of the cost and are easy to set up, take down, and move anywhere. Available in 2 sizes. Get your Turtle Tough shelter and accessories included at TurtleToughShelters.com. That's Turtle, T-U-F-F Shelters.com. Or call 801-623-3288. That's 801-623-3288. Or see them online at TurtleToughShelters.com. Turtle Tough Shelters, your all-season home away from home.
Hey there, my name is Frank Bates. What I'm about to tell you in the next 60 seconds could get me in a lot of trouble. I just created a free video presentation at 123crooks.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are. Incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your power bills criminally high. Some have called this a conspiracy. Others have called it a cover-up. And you'll be shocked to find out how deep the conspiracy goes. My video at 123crooks.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Watch the controversial video that thousands of other smart patriots have already seen in the last 3 months. Go to 123crooks.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home. Go watch my video now at 123crooks.com before they force me to shut it down. 123crooks.com.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Well, the time has finally come for the story to be told that should have been listened to a long time ago. In 19...
Hi, you guys. Oh, great. Eileen, I guess you heard the comment by Admiral Moore from the letter he wrote to me several years back. Would you have a comment on that at all? James is back on the line again, so do you have a comment on what Admiral Moore might have said there, or what he did say?
I'm sorry, Ron. I don't. I don't have a comment. Please, let's go to the caller.
Okay, sure. We'll just go to the caller. James, come on up.
You're doing a heck of a job hosting today. Excellent job, actually. I still don't understand why RBN hasn't put up that show that you and I did when we guest hosted for Phil, the interview with Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, Colin Powell's assistant. That was a great show, and I keep getting people emailing me saying that they would actually pay to subscribe to the RBN archive, but they won't because that show's not up. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe RBN can get that in gear if they, at their earliest convenience and put it up for June 29th under the Studio A archive at the RBN archive. Anyway, it's so nice to have Eileen on the show, too. She's been a supporter of the Liberty cause for a long time, and she and I have been in touch for a long time as well, and she was, supported me in terms of what I did with McCain in San Diego when I confronted him about the cover-up with the USS Liberty. And I think it was really interesting, the response I got from the editor of the San Diego Union Tribune newspaper, and I'd like to read that on air in a minute. But I also wanted to bring up the excellent work that Eileen has been doing with Mordecai Vanunu. And what are the chances of maybe getting him on your voice accounts from his prison cell in Israel? I don't know if that would be that.
No, he's not in prison. He was freed from prison, but he's not allowed to leave, and he's not interested in doing any radio shows. He just wants to leave. That's what he wants. He's waiting for that.
Is he still what? Is he under house arrest or something in Israel?
Well, I mean, he's monitored, but he's free to walk, anywhere he wants to in Israel, but he's back in East Jerusalem. But, they monitor him. They listen to his email, his telephone. They've got Palestinian spies that follow him around. He's got no private life. So it's,
well, Eileen, what was interesting about that? I'm so glad you brought that up about his emails. I read something. I don't know if it was from you or some maybe it was an email I received from you. That how Hotmail, how Hotmail, the email service, of course, had been bought by Microsoft. And during his trial, Israel just mentioned the word espionage, quote unquote, and Microsoft, without even looking into the allegation against Vanunu, turned over all his Hotmail email records.
Right. The way it happened was, though, that the Israeli alluded to Microsoft that if they were to help them by turning over Vanunu's Hotmail account, they would be helping in a case of espionage, even though Vanunu was not charged with espionage. And this happened after the 18 years in jail. This happened, when they let Vanunu out in 2004, under severe restrictions, not allowed to have a computer or a cell phone, or, it's insane. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's got, it's insane. He's got his own website. But one of the restrictions was he was not allowed to have access to, email or the internet. And, of course, this is intrinsic, to your right as a human being to have, communication. No government is allowed to, stop that. But yet they try, they do. So they alluded to Microsoft that they were helping in an espionage case. But what they were doing was gathering information against Vanunu, because when they let him out in 2004, they told him, you're not allowed to speak to foreigners. They specifically were meaning, of course, foreign journalists, but it was just the blanket restriction, no foreigners. He can speak to Hebrew media, but he doesn't want to speak to Hebrew media. But a foreign reporter could give a Israeli reporter all the questions and sit there in the same room, and the Israeli reporter could ask the questions, and that would be okay with Israel. That's how convoluted their illogic is. That would be okay, but to allow Vanunu to speak to foreigners, that was verboten. So what they were doing was going through his, emails to find out who he's talking to, and they know who he's talking to. They know everything.
Of course, Eileen, another interesting thing about that, too, is that at my USHijack.com website, I put a post up there a couple weeks ago. I think it might be on the first page or the second page. And no mention in our media of how Netanyahu has been implicated in smuggling nuclear material to Israel. At least that's what I got from the headline of the piece. I haven't had a chance to read the entire piece, and I just got back online with a new modem recently, so I've kind of been out of touch a little bit. But that article is there, and isn't that just incredible to you? Here we hear this warmongering for Israel against Iran pushed forward by the AIPAC, neocon Israel lobby, and no mention of Netanyahu smuggling nuclear material, I believe, from the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had Obama giving the Freedom Award to Perez, and Perez is the daddy of the Dimona. I mean, he's the whole reason that Dimona exists. He's the daddy of it. So, yeah, we live Orwell's nightmare is what's happening.
I think you're going to have to hold that thought there, Eileen.
Okay.
We'll be back.
Okay.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
How would you like to own land? A refuge to escape from big cities, possible food shortages, the collapse of the dollar, or just a vacation trip is now available to you. Lots of fishing and hunting are available just across the Rio Grande River. Own your personal Colorado Wilderness RV lot within 3 stones throw of the Rio Grande River for $1,395. Quarter-acre lots. County road access. All lots come with warranty deed. All just for $1,395. Call 785-672-3141. 785-672-3141. Or go online to ColoradoRiverLots.com for more information and to see photos. It is away from civilization, a good business investment, and a low-cost protection plan. Call today, 785-672-3141.
As many of you know, natural supplements are fantastic for your body and have 0 side effects. You need to restore your body's natural balance. TerraVim strives to carry only the highest quality dietary supplements and natural vitamins that can be beneficial in helping your body recover from the impact of daily stress, allergens, illness, environmental pollution, and the aging process. Why buy from TerraVim? Simple. TerraVim provides a rewards program. Earn $1 for every $10 spent, free health consultations, free shipping on all orders, and an additional 10% discount on every order when you mention the coupon code RBN. Call 866-647-4372. That's 866-647-4372, or go to terravim.com. That's TerraVim.com. TerraVim, the best supplements on earth.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Well, finally, the open truth back to Washington sends out a message that the ship moved farther out to sea. There were too many errors and too much time wasted.
Also, we listened to the voice of the fine voice of Cat. Would like you, James, and Eileen both to go ahead and continue on with your discussion. And,
sure, Ron. Ron, thanks for giving us the opportunity to discuss this too, because Eileen made a very interesting point in response about Netanyahu. I think it's so such a blatant double standard we have here. When Israel didn't sign the NPT treaty, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and of course that was probably via the influence of the Israel lobby on the U.S. Congress that got them out of signing that treaty. And here we have Iran, which signed the treaty, and there's no credible evidence that they've even violated it. Yet the Israel lobby, like I said, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and the neoconservatives and other pro-Israel lobby entities are pushing hard for sanctions and such, pushing the situation to the brink of war. And yet, here we are. The same Israel lobby is also been encouraging what's been happening in Syria, and that situation seems to be on the brink of imploding as well. And it's all in accordance with the Israeli Likudnik Oded Yunon's policy strategy for the 1980s. That's what the Iraq War was based on, the clean break agenda. The good friend Stephen Stegosky, who's been on your voice counts, quite a few times, elaborates about this in the Transparent Cabal book. Yet, our Zionist influence-controlled U.S. media doesn't mention this at all, and just pushes the pro-Israel line. And as Eileen had mentioned, prior, Ron Paul is the only one who's standing up to this, and of course he gets no media attention hardly. I've done various interviews on Press TV and Russia Today, and I've of course mentioned him. And you can Google James Morris Press TV and James Morris Russia Today to find those if interested further. But he just gets no mention at all in our mainstream media. It's just the Zionist line that's being pushed, and another Israel First stooge Romney is being put up against another Israel First stooge Obama, and we're just caught here, being some of the few that are in the know as to the agenda, and the American sheeple are just duped again, But another thing Eileen had mentioned, which was very interesting too, is Helen Thomas. I had actually been in touch with Helen Thomas. We had I helped arrange a Press TV interview for her with friend Susan Madaris had actually done an interview with Alan Sobrowski as well on Press TV for her at the autograph show. And anyway, Helen Thomas had told me in private conversations that everyone in Washington knows who runs the show there. They're just too afraid to say it. She said they're either afraid of being called an anti-Semite or a Nazi. And, that goes back to the YouTube that my friend Tom Murphy had made for his representativepress.org channel, The Zionist Trick. You basically assert anti-Semitism against somebody to suppress any criticism of Israel. And that's what we're facing in America. And the tragic thing about it is we seem to be heading for an even wider war in the Middle East. And if Russia and China get involved, it could become the next world war if we go into Syria and Iran. And, we have John McCain, if you look at his Twitter feed, sitting there pushing intervention in Syria while U.S. cities, states, and counties are going broke. I mean, this guy should be in the Knesset rather than in the U.S. Congress. I mean, that guy's just an utter traitor. And with that, I want to get Eileen's response, and then I'll read that Union Tribune editor's response about my confrontation with McCain.
I'm going to let you get to that a little quicker. My article on this topic I published July 30th at wearewideawake.org, and it's Message to Mitt, courtesy of CIA, FBI, Bibi's nephew, and this candidate for U.S. House, because the information is out there. We've got the CIA declassified and FBI documents here, just nailing constantly, this special relationship. It's got to end.
It really does. It's exactly what George Washington warned against in his farewell address.
That's
passionate
right.
attachments to foreign countries,
That's right. I know it.
And another friend who's a supporter of the Liberty cause, she's got an excellent website. It's about the Liberty, and at the very bottom there, it has a link to Washington's farewell address, and it's easy to find. The show's archived, so I can just give the link. standforjustice.org. And like I said, go to that website, standforjustice.org, scroll down to the bottom, and look at what Washington warned us of.
Well, I got it right here on my left margin. Observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all, and passionate attachments for others should be excluded, and that in place of them, just and amicable feelings towards all should be cultivated. The nation which indulges towards another a habitual hatred or a habitual fondness is in some degrees a slave. A passionate attachment of one nation for another produces a variety of evils. That's George Washington, and I believe the scriptures are the love of money is the root of all evil, and here we've got the deepest pockets buying the most democracy, and the universally understood definition of insanity, I'm sorry, those are my dogs, sorry, is to persist in the same behavior, expecting a different outcome, and I say the more we just keep pressing that lever, Democrat, Republican, man, we're just insane. We've got to get in there and alter or abolish this government. That's not in our self-interest.
Couldn't say it any better than that. And I think an example of what's going on with this is look at this Jewish Likudnik neocon who's good friends with Bibi Netanyahu, Sheldon Adelson, and he's already pledged $100 million to buy Mitt Romney into the White House for Bibi Netanyahu. And we saw what Mitt Romney disgracefully did in Israel, in his recent trip. I mean, and of course the media doesn't focus on that. It focuses on what Michelle Bachmann, the neocon Israel firster, doesn't seem to care about Israel murdering Americans on the USS Liberty. They focus on her and the quote-unquote Muslim Brotherhood infiltration of our government, when the real culprit is Zionist neocon AIPAC infiltration of our government, which is pushing us into these unnecessary wars, which are resulting in the deaths of thousands of Americans and bankrupting us.
Can I interject a thought here?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just had a professor speak to me not too long ago, and I've heard you both say twice tonight that this can't go on. She asked me a very profound question. Now I'm going to ask it to you. She said, how long do you think this can go on? And I had no answer for that. Do either one of you have an answer for that?
I'll let Irene go first on that, Ron.
I say it's this year. It's now or never. We're either going to wake up and, do it because, I say, you say the media. Well, we got to just quit thinking of them as the media. We are the media. We've got the Internet. While the Internet is live, it's open to us. We just have to keep hammering it away. And when I'm heading down to the Republican National Convention as media, with my media packets, which will have about the Liberty and the occupation and some of the new stuff in there, and I'm going to, whoever I can get to tape it, video it, stick it on the YouTube, stick it on your Facebook, just get it out there. What's the media's reaction when they are presented, here's this material, this great material from If Americans Knew, all that Liberty information that, plus DVDs. I mean, I'm just going to come equipped with the info, and how are they going to get away with ignoring it if enough people just get those little blurbs like James, when that thing went viral, that when McCain said the jerk word. I mean, it's little things like that. We just got to keep hammering it away.
I agree, Irene. I completely agree. And to answer Ron's question, I think this is the year, Ron. I really do. And just a quick note. That McCain video, you can do a search at Google or Yahoo for McCain Confronted or McCain Heckler, and it's all over the web, as Ryan just mentioned, with thousands of views and all that. And friend Tom Murphy of representativepress.org that I mentioned prior, he made that excellent YouTube that had Phil and I commenting on it, and that's at tinyurl.com/McCain Confronted, and I think that's at 17,000 views already. I mean, that's nothing compared to the Internet, but it's better than nothing,
That's right. And I don't even know, once you embed it, because I embedded it on my Liberty link, and I don't know if those ever registered when people embed it in different, on a different site, if it's ever registered. So
They should, Irene. They should embed, but, there's been some suspicious things going on with Facebook, with third-party censorship. Another Liberty supporter noticed that if you post a comment on a Facebook page and you don't have a friend, people that aren't friends sometimes don't see it. And I think that's very sly of Facebook to do that, and that's just another form of censorship. But I just want to get back to Ron's question because I think it's a very relevant one. Ron, we're $16 trillion in debt, okay? We have an Israel lobby here that's pushing us to the brink of what could be the next world war. I think that as Ron Paul has been saying so accurately, we're either going to financially implode, or we're going to because we just can't sustain it. No country in history has ever been able to print its way out of debt. Okay, you just can't keep on printing more money without the whole system coming down in a big crash. I think in the next few months we'll see what happens in Europe. I think Greece is on the verge of imploding, and if that happens, that's obviously going to affect us. So, what better way in history to divert from that kind of thing than having a war, which could become a world war? And that's what I'm very worried about. That's what keeps me up at night, trying to prevent that. And, Irene, unless we do what you just suggested, getting the word out on the YouTube while we still have it, and the Internet and all that, the media is not going to touch it. I mean, look what happened when I got in touch with the executive office of 60 Minutes several years ago, trying to get them to do a segment on the Mir Sharon-Walt book, the Israel lobby and U.S. foreign policy, right? And they were, John Mearsheimer was a friend, right? And they were very concerned about the Israel lobby getting us into a war back then with Iran. And what was so incredible about that is 60 Minutes executive office tried to ignore me, and then finally they came back with a response and said, we're not going to cover that. Now tell me, why wouldn't they cover a book that was a bestseller that talked about how not only how the Israel lobby got us into Iraq, but is pushing to get us into Iran?
Yeah, well,
why wouldn't they do that, Irene? There's obviously a concerted effort in our media to keep the truth of the agenda away from Americans.
I know, but it's the same. It's the same response from when I sent 60 Minutes, a copy of my 30 Minutes with Vanunu DVD. You know, it's on the YouTube, and I sent a bunch of them to the media. You know, I mean, here's 30 Minutes with Vanunu talking about, you know, it was taped just a couple weeks after his freedom of speech trial began. And basically what I did is I went through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, upon which Israel's very statehood, the establishment of Israel's statehood, was contingent upon them upholding the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and as a member state, America is obligated to hold all other member states to that Declaration of Human Rights, and it's quite blatant there. You can just go down it, bam, 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 what Israel does not uphold. So why, I mean, I don't get, why aren't we talking about this? And what Jeff Halper, Professor Jeff Halper, coordinator and co-founder of Israel Committee Against House Demolitions, told me is that when the leaders signed on to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they never imagined the people holding them to it. So it's all about people power. It's all about us getting up off our ass instead of just complaining about it, get in their face and do something about it. So I'm really looking forward to this Ron Paul contingent that's going to be there, and because that's a message that it's up to us, we the people, to force the media to report it. And as you say, yeah, there's interests aligned against us to censor it, but they can't censor the truth. Just like what Israel and America hopes, all the Liberty vets will die out in the story with them. It's impossible. There's been too many books written about it. There's just too much information out there. History, you know, will remember, you know, the failures of those who, you know, should have been held accountable. That's I think our mission to these guys, is make sure those who are still alive that had accountability in that don't get you know, out of not being embarrassed publicly by it. If that's the best we can do there, I say that's worth it, because they should not be able to just negate what their culpability in this.
Irene, I completely agree. Ron, listen, I got a response for Irene on that. Do you want to weigh in before I respond to her?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, here's another example, Irene. An excellent film that has just been released a couple months ago. It's titled Valentino's Ghost. Okay, you can go to it at the website, www.valentinosghost.com. Here's an example of Zionist influence at PBS as well, public broadcasting. That film is going to make its debut airing next month. That's the latest I heard from the producer when I spoke with him a couple weeks ago. Now, my exchange with Lee Hamilton from the 9/11 Commission when I was in D.C. 7 years ago or so. That's on the internet as well. You can just Google 9/11 motive or 9/11 motivation, whatever. And it's at tinyurl.com/9/11 motivation. That exchange was taken from Tom Murphy's representativepress.org URL and his YouTube channel, Representative Press. And it was included in that Valentino's Ghost film. Well, all of a sudden, the producer, Michael Singh, hears back from PBS, and they're saying, we don't want your parts about AIPAC and that exchange with Lee Hamilton that Mr. Morris had included in the film when we air it next month. And Michael and I talked about it, and I said, well, it's got to be the Jewish donors at PBS and the Jewish foundations over there. And so he said he thought so too, and he brought that up to PBS, and his contact there said, I don't want to discuss that. But to see it now, to be fair, it's not all Jews. I mean, you just had mentioned Jeff Halper. He would make an excellent guest on Your Voice Counts if you could help work that out, because I've got his email too, but if you're in touch with him or somebody is in touch with him, I think he'd make a wonderful guest on Your Voice Counts, because he's been speaking out against the Israeli illegal settlement building in the West Bank for quite some time. And is he an American or is he Israeli? I think he's an Israeli who lives there, isn't he?
He was born in Hibbing, Minnesota, but yes, he moved during the Vietnam era. He moved to Jerusalem, and he told me when before he left, he told his grandma he was moving to Israel, and she told him that's not a place for a nice Jewish boy. But anyway, he is a great speaker. Yep. But he travels to America quite frequently. But you know, all I can do is just send him.
Yeah, well, if he's got Skype or something, RBN's great with hooking up on Skype. If Phil and Kat and Ron want to have him on, and I'm sure it could be worked out.
Probably just contacting him through his Facebook is my.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Irene, you know another thing I wanted to ask you about, because you've been doing such excellent work with Benunu, interviewing him and all that.
I think that music's coming on, Jay.
Okay,
James,
sure.
Can you hold it just a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the show.
Okay.
I'll hear the call again.
Chlorine, fluoride, pathogens, and more are in the water you drink day to day. Do you want the ability to remove and reduce those harmful things in the water you drink? You can. How? With a Berkey water filter. A complete standalone gravity filter system that requires no electricity and no plumbing. Used for emergencies or for every day. Berkey systems come in 7 different sizes. Where can you get one? From GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com. With the purchase of each system, you get 50% off accessories, such as fluoride filters, water level spigot, and sport bottles. Plus free shipping on all orders over $25. For a limited time, get 5% off all ceramic systems when you use coupon code RBN. Call Get Berkey at 855-GET-BERKEY. That's 855-438-2375. Or visit GetBerkey.com. That's GetBerkey.com.
Don't answer it! How can I stop these annoying collection calls?
Imagine being free from your debt without settling and with no payment plan, no negotiating or filing bankruptcy, and no attorneys. What if you could eliminate the risk from all your unsecured debt in about 90 days and keep all your money? You can. It's called Zero Debt Guarantee, and it works. There's no other program of its kind on the planet, and we guarantee the results in writing. Call now, 800-477-9256. Let our team of experts provide you with the resources to fight back, stop collection calls, and prevent and stop wage garnishments and bank levies. If you're facing foreclosure, we can help. Don't go it alone. Get free information now by calling 800-477-9256. Talk to an expert who has also completed our program. Call 800-477-9256 for free info, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com. That's 800-477-9256, or go to ZeroDebtGuarantee.com.
Are you struggling to reclaim your health? Let me share my story quick. My nightmare of chronic fatigue, PTSD, and autoimmune issues cost me everything. A bankruptcy, loss of home, even my wife walked out on me with no hope in sight. A miracle happened after hitting my lowest point. I discovered ion and RNA drops. It literally saved my life. I want to share my story with you and offer you a trial-size mini bottle of RNA drops. Visit www.rnafreemini.com. Again, that's www.rnafreemini.com. It's time to take your power back now. You can also look for our free trial offer ad at republicbroadcasting.org. RNA Drops.
They said that Israeli forces knew not of the Liberty's true identity, and so they took advantage of the serenity. They attacked the silent ship, making a 40-foot hole in the starboard.
Go ahead, James. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'll be quick, and I want to definitely.
Yeah, I do need a few minutes to myself. Just
no worries. Let me just read this email quickly that I received from the editor of the San Diego Union Tribune in response to why the writer that Phil Tourney and I were in touch with right after I confronted John McCain on Memorial Day on May 28th, earlier this year, of course. And we told him what I had conveyed to McCain, what I'd asked about his association and his Admiral father's association with the USS Liberty cover-up, and he made no mention in the paper. The writer was Christopher Hidalgo, and yet the UK Daily Mail, thousands of miles away in a foreign country, made mention and even included my name. Not that that was an important part. The important part was a mention of what I'd asked. I was just a messenger. But anyway, this is the reply I got from Mr. Jeff Light, and if anybody would like to email him, they can email him at jeff.light, L-I-G-H-T, at utsandiego.com. And I'm going to read you his response, because I was asking him why his writer, Christopher Hidalgo, again, who Phil Tourney and I were in touch with before he filed his piece, did not mention what I had asked John McCain that day. Here's his response. Hi, James. I'm sorry that no one got back to you. I spoke to Chris, that's Chris Hidalgo, who wrote the Union Tribune piece. I spoke to Chris, and he told me that he thought McCain's response to the interruption of the Memorial Day ceremonies and the support he received from the crowd was worth a short note, but no more. I think your cause is an interesting one, but I don't necessarily agree that it is a shortcoming in our journalism that we decided not to give you a platform simply because you managed to break the decorum at a public event. These sorts of stunts are fairly common. I think the only thing that made this one notable, if it was notable at all, was the laugh McCain got out of the crowd at your expense. Now, isn't that an incredible response? The only expense there is the USS Liberty crew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, please, any of your listeners, email this guy. Again, he's the editor of the San Diego Union Tribune newspaper, jeff.light at utsandiego.com. And on that, let me make one final note. There's a tie between what the excellent work that Irene has done with Mordecai Vanunu and the Liberty. The Dead in the Water documentary that you can find online, the BBC Dead in the Water production, and of course Dick Thompson, a mutual friend of Ron and I, and Phil Tourney and others, produced that, put like $1 million of his own money into it. Peter Hunam was involved with that documentary. He wrote and produced it for the BBC. But he was also the Sunday Times writer who broke the story on Vanunu when he got honey trapped by the American Jewish woman who I believe is living in Orlando, Florida now. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I know Ron wants to make some closing comments, and Irene as well. Very good to be on the show. Good talking to you both, and I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Eileen, I thank you so much for coming on tonight. The thing I wanted to say before we leave here tonight is, very simply, this show has had a former ambassador, former senators, former congressmen, CIA operatives, former Senator Adlai Stevenson on it. I defy anybody to say anything about the credibility of this program. It's factual. It's the truth as we know it. And Eileen, I just want to let you close us with a few words, and please, if you would.
Well, I'll just pick up back on the Vanunu thing, because another reason I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives there is to remind Congress that in 1999, 36 representatives signed a letter to President Clinton calling for Vanunu's release from prison because they believed we have a duty to stand up for men and women like Vanunu who articulate a brighter promise for the future.
Looks like
and
we're going to get
cut
off.
Okay, that's it. Good night. Thank you.
That's it. Good night, my dear.
Thank you.
Good night to all. God bless this country.
Thank you, Ron, for having me on.
Good phone.